Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Infinite Danger Room. I'm Matt Price. I am here with Chris Borthick, Matt Howlett, Kade Poulson, and we are going to do, this is really just kind of a fun little thing. You can nitpick our choices, a little Star Trek versus Star Wars Tournament of Champions. We've got 8 heroes, 8 villains. They're going to face each other in kind of a March Madness type tournament style thing. And then we'll determine the eventual winner. There's going to be some voting, some dice rolls. Really, plenty of things for you guys to quibble about that we've done wrong or include the wrong people in the tournament or have the wrong winners. Lots of stuff to get excited about here. But hopefully it'll be fun for a minute. So that's what we're doing. We're going to kick it off. Okay, here's the tournament rundown. On your hero side, your number 1 seed is Captain Kirk, 2, Luke Skywalker, 3, Spock, 4, Yoda, 5, Picard, 6, Rey, 7, Cisco, and 8, Data. On your villain side, your number 1 seed is Darth Vader. Number 2 is Khan. Number 3 is Darth Maul. Number 4 is Gul Dukat. Number 5 is the Emperor. Number 6 is the Borg Queen. Number 7 is Kylo Ren. And number 8 is Sela. So, obviously we'll play 1 versus 8s and so on. We'll keep you up to date as the tournament continues. Hold on to your seats. Who will be the winner? Not even we know. First match, Kirk versus Data. All right, guys, we each get a vote in this. This is kind of a tough first-round matchup for Captain Kirk. Yeah. Let me see here. Kade, who do you think pulls this victory out?
You know, I think that Captain Kirk just pulls it out just because that's what he always did in the old show. You know, the odds are against him, but he comes out on top. So my vote would probably be for Kirk.
Okay.
I agree. I think Captain Kirk would absolutely defeat Data, but it would be close.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Captain Kirk would, kind of like what Kate said, pull something out at the last second that evens the odds, and he will come out on top.
Yeah, I love Data, but Kirk was always just the best at saying the most confusing computer things to any computer on the old 60s show and just making it malfunction, so it's probably Kirk.
That's kind of what I think, too. Somehow we give the Data some kind of command that he can't enforce, and there we go. So Kirk gets all 4 of our votes, but that doesn't mean Data's out of it. You're going to roll for Captain Kirk and see how many points he adds to his 4-vote total.
Okay.
5.
Oh.
So he's pretty much unbeatable at this point. We give Data a roll, Kate, see what he gets. He gets 3. Captain Kirk advances to the second round.
All right.
Okay, over on the villain side, Vader versus Sela, the evil Tasha Yar. Let's have our votes on this one. What do you think, Kade?
No doubt it's Vader. I don't even think I have to explain it. So, it's
all right.
The baddest dude.
I think Darth Vader, assuming that he can also bring the entire fleet with him, the Imperial fleet with him. I mean, he controls legions of stormtroopers. Assuming he can bring that, I think it would be a victory for him.
All right.
Yeah, I pretty much think either way Vader's going to win because
whether it's a one-on-one battle or a fleet versus
battle,
fleet.
Yeah, I think because he can use the Force, which she can't, so she's screwed.
Yeah, we didn't really give parameters for, so it's just kind of whatever you think here, guys. But I'm going to vote for Vader. Kade, see how Vader does. Use the Force and see what he rolls. Okay, a 3, so he's got 7. So really, he's going to advance. But let's see what the that's a versus the 1. That's a Vader landslide.
Vader's got it.
Okay, 4 versus 5 match on the heroes. Yoda versus Picard. This is gonna be tough.
Yeah.
What do you, Chris? Let's start with you this time. Give Kate a little time to think.
Man, well, I pretty much think Yoda will win hands down. I mean, he's got lots of experience. He doesn't really need a lightsaber by the end of the movies and stuff. So I mean, he could just go to sleep, Picard.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yoda.
Matt.
I guess looking at the scenario, why would Picard and Yoda fight? I feel like it would be one of those things where they would fight and then realize that they have the same motives and goals. And I think that Yoda would concede to Picard because Yoda knows that Picard is a strong leader and Picard is younger, more able to complete tasks that maybe Yoda is unable to do, and that Yoda would concede rather than it be a victory. Yoda would just
so you think
withdraw.
Picard would out-debate him?
Picard would out-debate Yoda, and Yoda would concede to Picard's nobleness.
Okay.
It's a good answer. It's an interesting answer. I'm looking at this more from the perspective that they just have to fight, and that's all there is to it. I think Yoda wins, just because he is like a Force sage. He's one of the oldest guys. He's more in tune with it than anybody else, and the Force is so powerful, and Picard's just a human. So I would say I'd have to give the edge to Yoda.
I thought I was going to go Yoda, but as Matt was talking, and I hate to let Matt convince me of anything, I started thinking, okay, there are 3 lights, 4 lights, however many there really are.
Strong, yeah.
Picard never backs down off of that. The whole time he's being tortured, he's like, no, I'm still... Whereas Yoda essentially runs off, lets the Jedi get slaughtered, doesn't really stop it, goes into hiding. Mm-hmm. At no point is just like draws a line in the sand and says this far and no further, despite all the power that he has. Mm-hmm. So, based on that, I'm going to say Picard somehow guts it out.
All right.
Okay.
So that's 2-2.
Uh-oh.
So let's see what the dice have to say.
Okay.
2 for Picard. Oh! Extra innings, reroll.
Overtime.
2 for 2. All right.
Overtime match here. Oh. Man. Oh!
6 versus 6.
Wow. This
Double
is crazy.
overtime.
Double overtime in the Yoda versus Picard match.
Okay.
Now it's serious. Now we're serious. Oh,
6.
Oh!
It's impossible.
It's
This is tied. This is triple overtime.
See?
I'm saying.
Triple
This is
overtime.
triple
Okay,
overtime.
Same time.
Okay.
1,
Triple
2,
overtime.
3.
Oh, man.
Edged
Picard
out.
pulls it out.
Picard pulls out in triple
triple
overtime.
Man,
I
that was
think
insane.
That's a 3-0
I think
victory.
that's a testament to how hard of a battle.
How
this really
hard
would
fought
be.
of a battle that would be. Absolutely.
I don't
Good
think it would
point.
be a battle of strength. It would be a battle of wits, and I think Picard would pull out.
All right, on the villain side, 4 versus 5, Gul Dukat versus the Emperor. This is, some people might say the Emperor's underseated here, the villain of much of the whole Star Wars saga, versus the kind of, slimy Gul Dukat, who, I don't want to make Nazi comparisons straight off, but Gul Dukat is, he's a rough customer as well.
He is, but remember at the end, he gets, like, those crazy demon alien powers, so he could be a little bit of a challenge.
These guys are
Version.
both really
They're terrible.
bad
Yeah,
people.
terrible.
These are not.
Yeah.
Neither of these guys are like, oh well, he's got a redeeming.
Nope.
Not really with these guys.
That's funny.
All right, Chris.
Okay. I don't know. I'm going to vote with Dukat, and here's why. Because I think at the end of the Star Wars saga with the Emperor, he always was real dependent on what he saw and his like, I see the future, I know this is going to happen, I know this is going to happen. Gul Dukat's insane. He would not do what you expect him to do. He's sneaky and he's underhanded, and I think he would find a way to win despite whatever odds. That's me.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm not as familiar with the Star Trek character here as I am the Star Wars character, so I'm just going to go with the Star Wars character.
You're allowed to vote for any reason.
I would say the Emperor because he has access to his royal guards. He has access to the Imperial fleets. Before they could even face off, there would be mountains and mountains of enemies and waves of enemies that you would have to overcome to get to the Emperor and even look at him face to face. Maybe if we're talking about a hypothetical situation where they are face to face and they have to fight, I feel like the Emperor is still pretty powerful.
Force lightning and the like. Okay.
He bested Yoda, and it didn't seem like it took too much effort to do.
Okay.
I'm kind of like Matt. I am more familiar with the Emperor from Star Wars than I am with the Star Trek character. But at the end of what is it, Return of the Jedi, the Emperor's shooting like lightning out of his fingertips. So I mean, like, that's a pretty bad power to have the Force so strong within you that you're shooting out lightning and stuff. So I'd probably have to say the Emperor, also because he pretty much controlled Darth Vader for a long time. Darth Vader was kind of his puppet, so I'm sure he would have some sneaky, conniving way, like he did through the other movies, to rise to the top. And I'd probably have to say the Emperor.
I'm going to go also with the Emperor, although I think it'd be a tight match, and I think they would probably sacrifice all kinds of cannon fodder or whatever in this battle if they were able to. But I think it would probably be a tough one, but I'm going to go with the Emperor also. So it's 3-1. Let's see what the dice have to say. Uh-oh. 4-1 dice. So that is...
So
that's a gold... Okay, so 3...
3, and then 1 is 4, and then 4.
And 1 is 5.
Oh, 5, yeah, you're right.
So it's a 5-4 victory.
Okay.
Gold Cut actually maintains seed there, but a little bit of an upset based on our votes.
Yep.
Going into the second round. Okay, on the hero side, 3 versus 6, Spock versus Ray.
Uh-oh.
This is going to be a tough one. This is interesting.
This is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see.
I mean, we don't, and if we see more Ray movies, we might change our opinion, but we're based on what we've seen so far, right? Spock versus Ray, what we know at this time.
Okay. Well, based off of what we know, I feel like Spock could definitely defeat Ray. I feel kind of the same way about Ray, though, because she got her power so quickly. As to where Luke had to go through all this training to get the Force. She just kind of had it within her, and we see that she's very strong in it by her first movie in The Force Awakens. She goes toe-to-toe with Kylo Ren. But longevity of the character with Spock, I'd probably have to go with Spock myself.
Matt.
I think Spock would win. I think Ray, although is more powerful, is very inexperienced in combat techniques. I think Spock would be able to outsmart her, outmaneuver her. I think that the only really interactions we have with Ray versus someone comparable to Spock would be her interactions with Luke Skywalker and Maz from The Force Awakens. Both who I think maybe weren't as powerful as Ray, but were able to kind of outwit her. So I'm going to go with Spock.
Go ahead, Chris.
Well, it's like a landslide here for Spock. I think Spock would win for a variety of reasons. Yeah, he's very experienced. Yeah, she's fantastic, but all he has to do is get his hand on her shoulder and do the pinch.
Yep.
She's out.
That's
so,
it.
I mean, or if he mind melds with her, he could do all sorts of crazy stuff to her as well. So
Yeah.
And we already know she's susceptible to that because Snoke was able to essentially do that to her.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
She's already weak in the mind, so to speak, and so yeah, and I think, or even if it's just like if he were able to like make his voice heard, where he could kind of outwit her or you lead her through like some logic puzzles of some sort, like think about what you're doing, think about your doubts. He could wrap her up in a variety of ways, I think. So Spock.
I think if we had a different board of panelists, we might go a different way, but I'm also going to have to vote for Spock. I think if we had maybe a younger group or a group that came up with these new Star Wars movies, they might feel differently. But for me, a big Spock guy, so I think Spock 4-0 is our vote. Let's see what the dice have to say about it. Yeah, that's strongly in Spock's favor with the dice as well, so he moves on to the next round. Okay, this is an interesting one. Darth Maul versus the Board Queen. Villain side, 3 versus 6. What do you think, Cade?
Let's see. I really feel like I have to go with Darth Maul. I mean, he was a bad dude in the first episode, and he went toe-to-toe with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn. And it took both of them to take him down. That is also one of the best fight scenes. I think probably the best fight scene in all the Star Wars movies. So I'm going to have to give the edge to Darth Maul. But once again, being completely transparent here, I know more about the Star Wars than I do the Star Trek.
Well, this is going to be a spoiler for the movie Solo. So if you haven't seen Solo, I'm just going to say maybe pause or turn the volume down for about 10 seconds, and then I'll drop it. Darth Maul shows us that he maybe has a little more power than we originally realized he does in Solo, and I think that there's more up his sleeve than what we knew about him. So, okay, spoilers are over. I'm going to say...
You did that in right about 10 seconds. Nicely done.
I'm going to say that Darth Maul would win because he was able to take Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi at the same time, and only lost because I think Obi-Wan Kenobi got a lucky shot.
Okay. So were you 2 Mauls so far?
Yeah.
Okay, Chris.
Oh, it's the Board Queen 100%.
Okay.
So since Maul has his legs back, if you watch the animated and all of that stuff, they're metal. All the Borg infest metal technology, everything. In addition to just overtaking you if they grab you. So it's a bad fight for him. Anything if there's technology around, if there's anything around, she can use anything and everything. Also, she's really hard to kill. Like, they kill her in one of the Star Trek movies, and she comes back in Voyager. So you can't really kill her as easily.
Just like Ultron.
I think she's much more difficult to kill than you think she is.
I think this would be like a pretty cool movie to watch, because I think you'd really have lightsabers just tearing through Borg cannon fodder and all sides. So I think it would be pretty exciting if this were to happen.
Right.
I'm going to go with Chris that the Borg Queen just eventually overwhelms Darth Maul just by sheer force of numbers. So it's 2-2. Let's see what the dice have to tell us on this one. Oh, 6-4. So that's a Borg Queen victory into the second round.
Oh, man.
Okay, last of the first round on the hero side, Luke Skywalker versus Cisco. What do you think, Cade?
Luke Skywalker. I mean, I think we're talking about the Luke Skywalker from the first 3 movies here. And I think he is also one of those guys that he just doesn't give up. So he's kind of like Picard or Captain Kirk. He may have the odds against him, but I just feel like Luke really is the overall titular hero of Star Wars, especially for through episode 4, 5, and 6. So I think I have to give the edge to Luke.
Well, I think I would agree with Cade. Knowing what we know about Luke, he is always able to overcome the odds and win one for the rebellion. To the think about like a New Hope, that no one had any faith in Luke Skywalker, but they needed some pilots, so they let him fly anyway, and he ends up completing the mission that they needed to do. His ability to use the Force is going to influence his victory, and so I'd say Luke Skywalker.
I'm going to go with Cisco. Cisco's one of those amazing captains. If you've never watched Deep Space Nine, you should. He holds the distinction of the only captain that's actually punched Q, which is a god character in that universe. He also comes to be revealed to be half alien being, which is one of the aliens that can control time in the wormhole. So I think he has a pretty good shot, and he never backs down. That is one of his things. He just does not back down. So I'm going to go with Cisco.
I think this would be tough, and I think, honestly, these characters have more in common than you initially think.
Sure.
Kind of blessed by the gods type characters, whether the Force or the
wormhole aliens.
The wormhole aliens, yeah. I think it would come down to it, and it's hard for me to vote against Luke Skywalker, but for purposes of this exercise, I'm going to vote for Cisco. Mm-hmm. And, let the Force tell us here. Who would come out ahead?
May the Force be with him.
Whoa! Luke Skywalker, 6-1 in the dice, goes on to the second round. Okay, last matchup on the villain side, Khan versus Ren. So who do you think? Does Khan enforce his wrath on Kylo Ren, or can Ren pull off the upset and get into the second round?
Well, I'd have to say this one definitely goes to Khan. I think that Kylo Ren is too emotionally unstable to pull off the win here. I think he's got too much working against him. Even though he is very powerful, I think Khan is just far too intelligent, and I think he would definitely come out with the victory. I think it's the landslide.
Matt?
I think Kylo Ren is more powerful than he has been portrayed in the movies, and as a result, I think that Kylo Ren has more up his sleeve than we realize. So I think Kylo Ren would be able to defeat Khan, given his essentially easy ability to defeat Snoke, who I think would be a more comparable villain in the Star Wars universe to Khan that we could draw from. So I'm going to go with Kylo Ren.
Chris?
I'm gonna go also with Khan. I feel like Khan he's the more experienced. I mean, he's really an older character since he comes from like the late 20th, early 21st century. So he's been around a long time. He's genetically engineered for war, and he's stronger and faster than you would think he's going to be. And I think he would take advantage of the fact that Kylo is kind of emotionally unstable and probably press a few buttons.
Pretty much agree with you on this, and I'm also going to go with Khan due to his long history of strategy and other things. So let's see who pulls out the victory. 3-1 with Khan in the vote. Oh, so that's 3-4. 4 plus 1. That's a Ren victory.
Oh.
Matt the Disruptor.
I thought it was the derailleur.
Well, that too.
Dang.
Kylo Ren with a big upset getting into the second round. Okay, going back to the hero side, we're on the second round here. This is one fans have talked about a lot, so we'll get to make the call here and let the dice decide. Kirk versus Picard. Who gets into the semifinals?
Oh my gosh, I think that is such a tough battle. Really could go either way. I'm gonna have to say Picard between the two. I've always loved Captain Kirk, but I'm just gonna give Picard the edge just because I grew up watching Star Trek: The Next Generation, and I think the guy just once again doesn't back down from anything, just like Captain Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think that he's just smarter. That's the best way I can describe my pick for this. I think he's just smarter than Kirk. I think Kirk gets lucky a lot.
All right. Matt.
I'm trying to make my decision based on the two characters present rather than what they're going to be up against and who would win. I'm going to have to go with Picard.
Okay.
And it's not... I just think that Picard has experience to draw from, where Kirk draws from his gut feeling, and that Picard would be able to outwit him and have more resources available to him to challenge Kirk. Although I think that Kirk's ability to kind of go with his gut feeling, though, has worked out for him more times than not. But I still think that Picard would win.
We'll pull it out. All right.
I really hate to pick this because I mean there's a lot of factors. I'm a huge Star Trek nerd, as people know, but I'm gonna go with Kirk, and here's why. Because in Generations, Picard can't handle one dude to save that planet, and he has to go get Kirk to help him. So I'm like, well, and Kirk pretty much solos that guy for the entire time while Picard's running around. So I'm gonna go with Kirk.
It's a tough call for me, and I could really see myself voting different ways on different days. But if we're thinking like the guy who fights the Gorn and all that, now if it comes down to a Darmok and Jalad, and you got to debate the guy, you give Picard the edge. But if you just got to get in there and start hitting people in the face, it's more of a Captain Kirk thing. So I'm gonna go Captain Kirk. That gives us a 2-2 tie.
Yeah.
So that makes the fate decide here. So let's see. Everybody roll for who you voted for.
Okay.
You voted for Picard. You voted for Kirk. So.
Okay.
All right, Captain Kirk gets the dice roll to move into the semifinals. On the villain, I guess, quarters here, Vader versus Gul Dukat.
I'll have to say Vader again. Once again, know more about the Star Wars characters, but Vader just being the baddest guy there is. I think that if he wanted to be, he could be running the show in Star Wars, but at the end of the Return of the Jedi, he ended up saving Luke. So I'd have to say if he wanted to be the most evil thing in the universe in Star Wars, he could be. He could just pretty much be the Thanos of that world. And so I'd have to give the edge to Darth Vader.
Matt.
I don't know enough about Gul Dukat to make an informed decision, so I'm going to go with Vader just because I know who Vader is. I know what Vader is capable of.
All right. Chris.
My gut says to vote with Vader, but I'm gonna go with Gul Dukat because I still think Gul Dukat has the advantage of he is crazy as a bag of cats. So I mean, I don't think Vader would see some of the stuff he would do coming.
All right, and I can see that argument, but I'm also gonna go with Vader. Just He's one of the baddest villains in cinematic history. So let's see what happens here. Vader's got 3. Gul Dukat has 1. Oh, Vader only adds 1 on the dice. Gul Dukat adds 5. So that's a That's a Gul Dukat upset.
Yep, that's an upset.
And he's into the semifinals here.
Those are the craziest bag of cats.
On the hero side, for the spot basically in the hero finals, or the semifinals overall, Spock versus Luke Skywalker.
Spock versus Luke Skywalker. So that's really tough because I think that Spock is far more experienced than Luke Skywalker. Once again, kind of going back to episode 4, 5, and 6 for the Skywalker I'm envisioning.
Yeah.
But I think just luck stays on Luke Skywalker's side. I think that he is the chosen one, and I think he pulls out the victory.
All right, Matt.
I'm going to go with Spock.
Okay.
I think that we have 2 versions of Luke Skywalker that we can draw from. We have the Last Jedi Luke Skywalker, and pair that with a more modern take of Spock from the Star Trek relaunch.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can go back to the classic Spock versus the classic Luke Skywalker from the original Star Wars trilogy and the numerous Star Trek episodes and movies that we can draw from. I think that's in both interpretations. Spock has shown himself to be more calm, cool, and collected, where we've seen Luke Skywalker has essentially kind of fallen to the dark side in the sense that he has kind of given up on the Jedi, given up on trying to train with the new recruit Jedis. He tried to kill Kylo Ren when he was a boy. Things that I think that are a compromise of character. Well, we don't really see that with Spock, so I think Spock would win.
Okay, Chris.
I'm also going to go with Spock. Yeah, he's more experienced and all of that. I also think he's going to be, since he has all his mental disciplines, he's going to be really hard to Jedi mind trick. And if he can get his hands on Luke, he could do some sort of mind meld, or he just nerve pinch him, and he's going down. So it's going to be difficult, but I think Spock.
I'm also going to vote with Spock. As much as Luke Skywalker is a great hero, I feel like if it came down to it, Spock is always thinking levels ahead. So that gives him how many of the votes? 3?
3-1.
Well, let's see how the dice turn out then.
Okay, so who are...
You're Luke. You're always Trek if that's an option.
Yeah.
2.
3. So Spock pulls off the win. That's going to be a Kirk versus Spock hero final. Can't wait to get back and see what happens there. Now our last Star Wars character on the board is Kylo Ren, holding up the flag for Star Wars versus the Borg Queen. If Kylo Ren is eliminated, we're going to have all Star Trek Final Four, which I'm sure will inflame fandom to no end. But what do you think on this one, Cade? Kylo Ren versus the Borg Queen.
Okay, so I remember some stuff about the Borg Queen, and based off the stuff that Chris said earlier, I know that she can, if you have a part of technology on you, she can get into you, control you. Kylo Ren, is too unstable, too unpredictable. I'm going to give him the edge here, just because I think the guy's nuts. He never really knows what he wants to do with himself. He's got a lot of issues. So I think that he could be just sheer power at some point. But I think, once again, that is very unpredictable, but I'd have to give him the edge.
Okay. All right, so 1 Kylo. Matt, to you.
Trying to draw from my knowledge of Borg Queen, which is very limited, but I have seen at least one of the movies feature Borg Queen. Borg Queen. Because I think that Kylo Ren, because he does draw from his emotions and doesn't... I think he would just be overwhelmed. Now that I think about it, I think the Borg Queen would eventually just keep coming at him in waves and waves, and eventually would topple him. If Rey can topple Kylo Ren, then the Borg Queen would have no problem doing so. Okay. Chris?
I would vote the Borg Queen also. There's a variety of ways she can get Ren, in my opinion. She's also very... it sounds weird to say she's very seductive, but she's very much like, join us. You won't be alone anymore. All this, she could do it right.
Seduce him to the Borg, perhaps.
Right, and then, or, If he denies, then she'll try to kill him. But I mean, he's pretty manipulatable according to the 2 movies we've seen. So I'm going to go with her.
I'm going to do a crazy vote and say Ren, having just seen Gul Dukat defeat Vader in the earlier round, just rides a rage of emotion to get the stunning upset before the Borg Queen can marshal her forces against him, giving it a 2-2. So let's see what the dice say. 3-2, Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren wins.
Well, at least it's not a
making the upset, getting into the Final Four. The Final Four. Star Wars versus Star Trek Heroes and Villains, Kirk, Spock, Gul Dukat, and Kylo Ren. Let's stay on the villain side and Gul Dukat versus Kylo Ren before we get back to the heroes. This is a master planner versus sort of a emotional rage case. Both have their benefits, I suppose, in a battle. Mm-hmm. But what do you think on this one?
I'm going to have to stay with Kylo Ren. I think that he's just too unpredictable. I think there are a lot of different scenarios you could pull from, like if Gul Dukat had, access to all of his warships, honing in on Kylo Ren at once, he wouldn't stand a chance. But if you're talking like a one-on-one battle, I think you got to give it to Kylo Ren.
All right.
But if Gul Dukat has access to all his warships, then so would Kylo Ren.
He would have the first order
potentially,
stuff.
There's a lot of different scenarios this could play out.
Right, we're leaving it pretty open. It's whatever scenario you bring to the table.
If Kylo Ren was able to defeat the Borg Queen, which I don't agree with, then I would say Kylo Ren would be able to defeat Gul Dukat.
All right.
I'm still going to put my faith in Crazy's bag of cats, so Gul Dukat it is.
They're both a little bit crazy. Well, again, I'm making my own stories over here. Kylo Ren, having smashed his way to unpredictable victory, is now just out of rage. Can't get it back together in time to defeat Gul Dukat. I say this is a 2-2 even vote. Right. Let's see what happens in the roll.
2.
So Gul Dukat puts his way into the final, eliminating the final Star Wars character. He'll now have a chance to fight a Star Trek character that I don't think he ever faced up against either of these.
Nope.
In the hero semifinals, working their way to the finals to face Gul Dukat. 2 best friends at each other's throats. Captain Kirk, Spock. Who emerges victorious?
Have they ever fought in the series?
They have.
They have a couple times.
Who has been the victor?
Spock won during the Vulcan episode where he was in Pon farr, so I remember that.
Although, did Kirk kind of throw that?
He did kind of throw that. So it was really
Sorry.
He did.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was still some argument that and he had the environment work against him a lot of stuff. So I don't know. And Kirk holds his own when they fought in the new movies to quite a degree. So I was really tight.
I think you'd have to go with Spock. That's just my opinion. I think Kirk, once again, just has a lot of luck on his side as to where Spock is smarter and probably more consistent in fighting. So, once again, it depends on how you look at it. If it was a movie, probably somehow Kirk might come out on top, but I'm just talking about if they fought over and over and over, probably the one who'd win most of the times would be Spock. So that's my pick.
Matt.
Well, Kate's right. Kirk has more luck on his side. Spock is more logical. However, luck is not logical. And I think that Kirk would go for something crazy that Spock would dismiss as being impossible and somehow able to overwhelm Spock and win. So I'm going to go with Kirk.
I'm also going to go with Kirk. I feel like he could be crazy and figure something out. I mean, he is the master of thinking outside the box. So if anybody can outwit Spock or outthink him, it would be Kirk.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of logical reasons to pick Spock.
Right.
But I think it comes down to it, who would know how to defeat Spock more than Kirk?
Right.
If he had to. If something big is on the line. Something big on the line is hard to bet against Captain Kirk. I'm going to give my vote to Kirk. If Spock can pull it out with the dice, then
okay.
Then that's what happens. So you're Cade rolling for... Oh, that's a 6.
5.
Versus 5. So that is Kirk.
Edge to Kirk.
Edge to Kirk. Using the vote, Kirk moves into the final where he faces Gul Dukat, who has come up, well, just a 4 seed. He's a 4 seed, but he's made his way to the final
Right.
against our number 1 seed hero, Captain Kirk. For all the marbles here, what do you think, Cade?
I think it's going to be Captain Kirk. I think you have to go with the good guy. I think they come out on top. Eventually, it may not be the first time around. But as we have seen with Captain Kirk, he's made his way all the way to the final.
Yeah.
I'm not betting against him this time.
Yeah.
So it's Captain Kirk.
All right, Matt.
Captain Kirk. I mean, his track record has shown that he's been able to best. I'm probably talking too far away from the microphone. He's been able to show that he's been able to best essentially any Star Trek villain that he's been pitted against. So I couldn't see why this would be any exception.
Chris.
Yeah, I agree. Kirk's got all the experience, and he's really good at taking out crazy people. So I think he would do it.
I would read this show or watch this movie or whatever, but I'm also going to vote Captain Kirk. Gul Dukat, your best chances for a big dice roll. You going to roll for Gul?
Gul Dukat, yeah.
All right, Cade is rolling for Gul Dukat with a 3. Kirk with a 5.
Yep.
Your champion, your all-time Heroes versus Villains, Star Trek versus Star Wars champion is
Captain Kirk.
Captain James Tiberius Kirk. What do you think, guys? Were we right? Were we wrong? Was this anywhere close to anything you would have done? Are we just really too nerdy for description at this point? All of the above may be true, but let us know what you think about it. Tweet at us at Danger Infinite, or find us on Facebook at Infinite Danger Room, or shoot us an email, infinitedangerroom@gmail.com. You can also leave us a rating or a review on iTunes. You can listen to the show also on SoundCloud or via newsok.com. For Kade Poulson, Chris Borthick, and Matt Howlett, I'm Matthew Price. Thank you for listening.